Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Open Source Friday. That was a very abrupt ending of that introduction. If you were just here, thank you for taking part of such an important conversation. And in case you missed it, just go after this stream, stay here with me. But after this stream, go back and take a look at the stream that was a moment ago. We had folks from OSI, from FreeBSD, and our own policy folks from GitHub, and they had a very, very interesting conversation about open source and all of the different policies that are affecting, like be it age compliance for different platforms or open source licensing. So it was a very thoughtful conversation, and there were three experts in that field. I recommend that if you're building anything, you take a look, take a listen. So please go back and have a look at that. And welcome everyone. If this is your first Open Source Friday, if this is the first time that you're joining us, hey, you're in the right place. This is a space where we highlight open source maintainers, builders, and projects. And we get a chance to not only watch these projects demo live, but we're actually going to see it directly from the people who are doing the work. So the idea here is a very laid back space. I think this is my favorite audience for a stream because all of you are open source supporters just by being here. So we're going to watch the stories behind them, right? We're going to connect with more maintainers. I am Andrea Griffiths. I'm a Colombia dev in the hellhole that is Twitter. But that's what I am. So happy to connect with all of you. Today, I'm super excited because I am joined by Prachi Sethi. She is a developer relations engineer at OpenMind. And Prachi works across developer engagement, doing things like onboarding, workshops, tutorials, hackathons. And welcome, Prachi. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Andrea. I'm super excited for this stream today.
I'm going to share your Twitter too so people can go follow you there. So they can join you on that corner of the world. But Prachi, thank you so much for being here. I've been super excited. I know you've been talking to actually Kevin and some other folks internally about some other fun, interesting things. But I don't think we've had a robotics like focus project in Open Source Friday before. We had some vision projects, but we never had one like this. So you're gonna be talking to us about OM1, and is it pronounced OM1? Am I saying
Yes.
it right? Okay,
Yeah.
excellent. So this is open source platform focused on bringing cognition to robots. I love the fact that you can set this up on a Raspberry Pi. Like you don't need to have this incredible hardware power to be able to use it. So I think we're all super curious to learn about robotics and open source. So thank you so much for being here. To kick things off, can you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about OpenMind and OM1?
Yes, sure. So I work as developer relations engineer at OpenMind. I joined the company last year in June, close to 1 year now, and it's been super exciting working in this field, getting to know what people are trying to do with robotics and how the technology has been changing every now and then. A bit about what OpenMind does is we're building software for robots, which is hardware agnostic and modular at the same time, which gives it more power to get connected across different form factors, and also you can figure out which functionality you want your robot to have or not. Uh, the beauty about it is you can think of it as a connector for different kinds of form factors. It's not just one. Currently, we do support Unitree. Go to Unitree G1, the humanoid. That you can run it also on a TurtleBot, and you can get started on a Raspberry Pi. We also support LimX and it also has full autonomy features as well. If you need to understand a little bit more about it, it's like you just clone the repository. You can get started on your MacBook or your Ubuntu machines as well. And if you have a Raspberry Pi, if you have a robot which runs on a Raspberry Pi, you can just clone the repository inside, and you can get started as low as that.
Very cool. I love that it makes it so accessible for people to use it. So what I'm sharing on the screen right now, that is the repository, right? And I think you're going to show us actually the repo itself. So do you want to start sharing?
Yeah, sure. I'll walk through what the architecture look like and how you can get started on it, and how you can
Perfect.
run the basic Hello World program there.
Perfect. Perfect. This is exciting. Hey, friends, if you are already using OM1, like let us know in the chat. Otherwise, we're all going to learn here together.
Okay. Okay, so here's our repository, and if you scroll down here, you'll find our architecture diagram. So if you see, there's a sensor layer where, if you see at the bottom, there's hardware abstraction layer for movement, sound, speech, and facial expressions. So basically, each robot comes with different inputs or different sensors, which could be your camera for the video feed. There could be a microphone. There are also speakers and different sensors like lidars, and you can get location inputs and everything else. We take all these inputs, and these are sent to an LLM, and then LLM does the thinking. Now, how basically this works is you can configure any LLM you want. It could be a Gemini, it can be OpenAI's any GPTs, or you can configure Open Router. We also support Olama. So if you want to run your local LLMs and not run any other, you can configure that. I'll go through the how to build the config file in later stage, so you understand how things work. And basically, all these inputs are taken, and then there's a system prompt, which basically is for telling the robot which personality the robot can have. If you go here, I have already cloned the repository. um, so there are few things which you require beforehand you run it, and there's port audio, FFmpeg, and then you need a few other services which you require. So we run through UV, and you need UV package manager to be installed on your system. I'll quickly show the config files which we have. If you go here, there's a system prompt. It just basically tells what the robot is supposed to act like. Now, if you want your robot to act like a dog or have a personality of a therapist, you can just update your prompt to have that. And then basically, there's inputs there that you can configure the LLM here, and you can also define a history length for the robot. Like basically, if you want the robot to just remember past three conversations, you can set it to three. If you want the robot to remember a bit more, you can configure a little bit more on that. And if you see here, once all these inputs are taken along with the system prompt, all of these things sent to the LLM to think, and now the LLM would think what the user has asked the robot. So for example, I tell the robot, what do you see in front of you? So it would define what it sees through the camera stream, and then gives a response based on that. And if I also ask the robot, hey, can you walk forward, if there's an action defined in the repository, and then the robot would ideally take that action. And the flow is like there's sensor inputs, then you have the system prompt, and you have the user input, and the LLM does the thinking and then takes some actions based on that.
All right, that's great. Prachi, could I ask you to zoom in a little bit? Yeah, perfect. That's great. So I can take a look at the screen. Okay, wonderful. All right, so for people that are just now hearing about OM1 for like the very first time, I guess, how were folks doing, like adding that cognitive layer to the robots before? Or was there not a way to do this before?
If you see, there are multiple hardwares across. There's so many companies who are building different kinds of form factors. But when you get a robot at your home, it's like you need to take care of the robot, and you have a remote control, and then you can only do certain things with the robot. What OM1 brings to the robots is a cognition, and also it also lets it connect to the robot in certain manner. You can have conversations, and you can ask the robot to do certain things for you. Now it depends if you want full autonomy features, or if you want to expand it. Then we also support those things through our API endpoints, which can be configured if required.
That's very cool. I love that. I love that you actually, I guess you support all hardware, like it's hardware agnostic.
Yes.
For the folks in your community now, like what kind of robots or systems are they using, or using OM1 on or with?
So basically, we hosted a hack night few weeks back, and there were a few folks who bought their own robots as well. So there's few people who start the running OM1 on the Raspberry Pis and try connecting through it. And we also have a simulator, so people also can get started on that as well. So it depends. If people are just getting started, they just start on their laptops itself to get a hang of how things work. I can actually show a quick demo if needed.
Oh, yes, please. That'd be great.
So the very first thing which you need to do is you need to go to our portal and you create an API key. So you go here and you define a label and you select. If you have a robot, you can define, you can choose based on this, or you can just give a label to it. I'll just give a test and create the API key. You can just copy this and then you can go to the clone repository. I'll just switch here and go to our conversation. So there are multiple configuration files which you can get started with. And it depends if you are using the cloud simulator or you're using Unitree Go to G1 or a UBDEC desktop humanoid. It depends. You can choose any of those, but if you're not having a robot and you want to just get started on your laptops, you can choose either conversation or spot file. And there are multiple ways you can configure the API key. One way is to just replace this over here, save the file, and you just go here. You have to run this command uv run source run.py, and you just run the conversation. So if you see here, there's ASR configured, so it will listen to what you say. There's LLM configured, so it thinks based on the system prompt and examples which you've given. And then there's TTS configured.
Wow, that sounds amazing. I'm ready to listen and learn.
Can you hear that?
Yeah, that's cool.
So basically, in this, we haven't configured the VLM.
I hear you loud and clear. Isn't technology just the coolest thing ever? Woof.
Hey, Spot, how are you doing today? Hey, Spot.
Hi there, I'm right here, ready to play.
So basically, this is just a basic example for running Spot, for running a conversation agent. Now, if you want the robot to also see what it's and talk about what it's looking at, you can just configure a VLM. And here's the config which you just added. You go to conversation, back to your file which you're working with, and you go to your inputs and just place this. Once this is done, you go ahead and so there's one more thing. Once you run the conversation, there's a memory which gets generated. So if you have to run the conversation file again, and if you haven't made any significant changes, you can just skip the name of the config file and it will run it. But since I just made changes to it, I'll have to, you can just basically run this one. Okay, I think I did. I'll just restart this one second.
Okay. Okay.
So basically, once you clone the repository and you run the config file, you don't need to install. So you just run UV run command and it installs all your packages in the virtual environment.
Okay, so are you now just restarting it? Is that what happened? You were
Yeah.
okay, got it.
So it says mode conversation initialized.
Got it. And everything gets installed into that virtual environment.
Yeah,
Uh
everything gets installed here. If I delete this and I just run the command, it just gets installed there. And next I want to run the conversation, which I just ran.
mhm.
Just need to this. And it will pick up the same conversation file. So basically it gets created here. If I change it, if I change it to Spot or any other, it will just change the one here. And every time I run it the next time, it will pick up the same which I ran the previous time. So since we also have the cloud simulator, I already had it running. Wait, I think it will. So you can start the cloud simulator and basically it will take a little time so we can show it in like 10 minutes. But the cloud simulator starts running, you can see everything here in the cloud teleops. Machine teleops, you can see the stream from the camera from the simulator and you can start different modes here as well.
Very cool. So I guess if I'm a developer but I'm not like a robotics expert, this makes it a little bit easier for me to get started.
Yeah.
What would you suggest we would use like as a starting point, I guess? Should we clone the repo or just is the cloud simulator independent of, like, you need to be using the project as well? You need to have the project locally to be able to use the cloud simulator, or how does that work?
So basically, there are two ways to do it.
Okay.
One, you clone the repository and you want to get started just on your system through Spot or the conversation agents through where your laptop's microphone and camera would be used as robots' potential sensors for inputs. And you can have a conversation to get a hang of how things actually work. And then if you want to switch and try out on actual robot, which you might not have, you can get started with the simulator. So how that would ideally work is you go here and you start the cloud simulator. Once this gets started, the API key you grabbed, you take the same API key and you go to either cloudsim.json file and you replace your API key here. And the other one is would be there's like simulation as well. And just basically go and change this here. So it will pick it up and you can talk to the robot inside the simulator. And the robot would have the feed inside itself. So once it runs, you can go on the machine teleops and see all the details. It'll take a while to start up here. But once it starts, I can show it how it looks.
Oh, very cool. Okay. So for OpenMind, like, what made them decide to build this as an open source project? And how old is this project?
So the company is on 2 years old,
Okay.
around 2024, late half.
Okay. Very cool. So while this is kicking off, like, let's see if there are any questions from the audience. I like it that I don't have to have a robot to be able to, like,
Get
that's
started.
pretty cool because not everyone has a robot, right? But honestly, like, I think making the robotics platform approachable might be really great for developers who are coming more from like software and they're not sure, like before you go buy a robot, you're not even sure if that's what you want to do. So when you, for the contributors that you have now, because this is obviously an open source project,
Mhm.
how are people getting involved with the project now? Like, in if you're looking for contributions, like what kind of contributions do you think will be the most helpful?
Yeah, so major contribution which we are looking for, which would be very beneficial for us and also the community as well, would be to add as more hardware supports as people can. So right now we support n number of projects, but there are so many more different form factors which are available in the market, and there are so many other different kinds of form factors which people own as well. And there are a bunch of robotics people who also build their own small robots. So it will be great if you have a robot and you want to add support to it, and you can use the repository. You can just create a PR, you add support for your robot, and then just submit it, and then we review it. Apart from that, people can get started with adding support for different sensors they want with their robot. So consider I have a robot and I want the robot to have a sense of what the environment around me looks like, or have a sense of is there smoke here, or if there's a hazard. So it depends what people would essentially want. They can add support for different kinds of sensors or different kinds of cameras available in the market, or different kinds of microphones if they prefer. It depends. So there are two major things. One is to add support for different hardware platforms available, and the second would be to add support for more sensors available in the market as well.
Very cool. Very cool. This feels like such a niche kind of thing because I'm as niche. I say as niche to me because like 'cause I don't have a robot. I've never actually played with robotics at all, but I know it's like a super thriving and growing segment of like it's like the perfect junction for software and hardware people to meet. This hackathon that you had about 2 months ago, is that something that the company is doing pretty often? Is there one coming up that we can share? Because that might be a fun thing for people to participate in.
There's not one cupping anytime very soon, but we would have more. But definitely, we're gonna. I'm gonna create a bunch of GitHub issues where people can come and try working on those, and they'll be like good for first timers who are getting started with the OM1. Mostly in regards with adding support for different sensors. For example, somebody just wants to add a smoke detector, or somebody wants to just add the support for humidity sensor or temperature sensor or something else, or they just want to experiment more or have interesting more use cases which the robot could handle, and they can just go and try out those things. And if anybody has a robot which we don't support, free to you're more than welcome to create plugins for that. I can brief a little bit on top of that as well, how you can actually come and contribute there. So if you go inside our source folder, there are multiple things here. One, there's actions, and there's providers, and there's inputs. If somebody is configuring a robot which is not supported, and
Mhm.
hardware comes with their own set of SDKs or APIs, right? And which already have a set of functions or actions defined. So, for example, you get a Unitree go-to robot. The go-to already comes with certain actions predefined from the hardware company. So you just create action plugins. You just go here, and if you see there's ARM G1, there are multiple move G2 autonomy action, and move UB. This one is for Ubitex mini humanoid. So you just create an interface and you create a connector. The connector is basically um, where you would add support for the APIs which come with the hardware, and you then go and create the interface. Now, whatever available actions are there in the API or the SDK, you just define it here. Now, what happens when a user prompts the robot to walk forward? It will take this keyword and map it here. If it's already defined in the action plugin, it will take that action. Similar things go with the inputs as well. Now, each hardware comes with different kind of microphone or a camera, and there's some cameras in which the streams are to get the stream, it's very straightforward. But if you see ubtex humanoid, the mini humanoid, it takes mjpeg format for the input for the cameras. So you just create a different provider and a input plugin where you configure all these details. So if this one is a ubtex camera's input, so you just create a new plugin for taking the input from that particular device, and you just plug in there. And then once you have these, you just take these input plugins and action plugins and you configure in the config file, and that's how it works.
That's very cool. Is there a place where we can see what robots are already supported? Like, is there a list?
Yeah. So you can just go to our. So you go here. There's OM1 integration with different machines here. You can even see how these are integrated. But if you want to check for full autonomy, you can go to our full autonomy guidelines and more details, and then you'll find those. And if you want to check more which configs are there, you can even scroll through our config files list, and you can find different robots which are supported. So you see Unitree G1's autonomy is there, the Unitree Go2's autonomy is there, and then you see there's LimX Tron available here. If somebody has that, you can just try out this. And then if you have booster, you have booster autonomy as well to try out with.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay, so folks, if you're watching this and you're like, well, I don't have a robot, like there's a lot of ways to contribute. I look forward to those issues that you're gonna create, especially the like good for first time contributors.
Yeah.
That be like a really, this is like a really interesting field. Very exciting. If friends, if you are in the chat and you have questions for Prachi, or questions about OM1, please don't hesitate to post them, and I'll be sure to push them up there. And then, of course, the next time that you schedule a hackathon, like, please send me a link and I'll be sure to share it too, because I think that people will be really, really, really into it. All right, so the cloud simulator is up now. Did it kick off? It's still working. It's working on it.
Something up with that. Let me see. I'll just.
This is how it goes. It's live TV.
Started. I can show you. We already have the docs up here. When it starts, it somewhat looks like this.
Okay.
I'll just zoom in for a better view. Oops. Okay, so it looks like this. So there are two ways. Once you have the simulator started, the screen would look something like this. And either you can open the session here, and you can run OM1 through your laptops, or you can open the Cloud VS Code and you can go there, clone OM1, and then get started with that. So once you get in the simulator, it looks something like this. And you can choose the robot you want to try out with. One is Unitree Go2, and you can try out with Unitree G1, or you can just try out with LimX Tron as well. So once the VS Code looks like this, you just go and clone it, and you go to Cloud Sim. You copy your API key, which you just generated, and you just run it. And once you are done with that, you can play around and you can do a number of things over there.
Very cool. Very cool.
So in the simulator, it supports the full autonomy. So basically how that works is you can talk to the robot, that's one thing. And then there's the SLAM, which is if you start the SLAM map generation, the robot would walk around the whole area and create a 3D SLAM map, which gets stored. And then there's navigation, where the robot would start navigating to different places and based on user's command as well. So while the map gets generated and you tell that this particular place is a kitchen or the living room or whatever, and then in the navigation, you just tell the robot to navigate to a different place. The robot would follow your command and go there. And for the actual robots, for Unitree Go-To, we also support full or auto charging. So once the robot gets down to a certain level of battery, the robot can go to its charging station and charge itself and get back to work.
Very cool. Very cool. Very cool. Okay. Have you always, is this always been your field, Prachi? Like, were you in robotics, or how did you come about to start working with this?
Okay, so I started my career as a test engineer, and then I moved to full stack development, and then I got introduced to AI, and that's when I decided to come to US for my master's back in 2023. And after my master's got over, I was exploring developer relations field into community building and a lot of things as well. And hardware is something which I was always interested in. I didn't specifically work in robotics field, but I was involved in IoT pretty much in my master's and also in my bachelor's. And then I stumbled upon the OpenMind, and it sounded very interesting, a good intersection of AI and robotics at the same time. And it's also like a very niche field, which I wanted to try my hands on. So it's been a year with robotics, and it's been fun so far.
Yeah, this is really, really exciting. It's such a like it's a fun field, and it's getting like the advances in it are moving super, super fast. Awesome. So I do have a question from the folks that are in the audience here also to share best practices. And since you just hosted a hackathon for your product and your company, then maybe you can help Steve. He's got a hackathon, a project at a hackathon that he wants to host. And so I would say first, if I may, Steve, like submit your project for Open Source Friday. That would be one good way to have visibility. And then I'll let Prachi share any advice from your own hackathon learnings. Maybe if there is anything that you can share with Steve to help make him successful when he does do his own hackathon.
I think for open source project hackathons, the major plus point for anybody trying it out is, being it open source is a great thing in itself, because any contributors or any developers who have open source contributions, it does reflect somewhere in your profile and also your GitHub history as well, which is something to showcase eventually, right? So if you want to get more people to somehow get the hackathon more visibility, the first selling point is the project is open source and you have a history to showcase that you did contribute in open source and in advancement of technology as well. Rest, it depends on what kind of perks people get on top of it, uh, depending on what your project is, right? It could be getting more exposure with different kind of people who are coming from different backgrounds. You get different ideas what people can build on, what people have been working on, so you expand your experience in that domain as well.
Nice. No, it's always such a fun time. Like, I know hackathons, like, for sure, for a lot of us, that's kind of like what helped our career, like start putting things in our resume, like it actually looked like we actually work on like real time projects. So that's really cool, and it's great that you're thinking about offering that as a way to share your open source project, Steve. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Prachi. This has been very informative. Is there anything else that you want to share with our audience?
I'll just share that as part of OpenMind, we are more than happy and we welcome all sorts of contributions from people to add support for different hardwares and sensors they prefer. And if you have any questions, you can post on our GitHub discussions. And if you have any feedback or any other questions, you can also reach out to me directly either on my LinkedIn or my Twitter, or my email is prachi@openmind.com. And apart from that, it was uh, great hosting this. And also, if there are people who want to get more involved in open source or need any ideas or suggestions, you can also reach out to me for that as well.
Oh, that's very generous. Friends, I will take up Prachi on that. Not a lot of times people offer their time. So when somebody offers it, you take it. thank you so much. Thank you so much for showing us the platform today and for the demo. And you'll have to come back with an actual robot.
Oh yeah,
That would be fun.
we can demo an actual robot running one.
Yeah, that would be super, super fun. But thank you, Prachi. I'll share all these links in the show notes. And please connect with Prachi. Go to the repository and drop a star. Please do that right now. Connect with Prachi via either LinkedIn or her Twitter account. And if you're interested in robotics and software and AI, this is a project for you. So go forth and check it out. Thank you, Prachi.
Thank you, Andrea.
Well, that was super interesting and I learned a ton and it's making me want to dust off. I got a tiny little robot. I wonder if I can use it on the platform. And if not, then it's going to be a nurse night for me to contribute the connector. So maybe not the week before Microsoft Build, which by the way, friends, Microsoft Build is coming up. I can almost bet that we will have there must be a robot on site. There will be for sure a lot of open source. I know it's who would have thunk it, but there's going to be a lot of open source conversations happening at Microsoft Build. And of course, a lot of really awesome releases. I know from our team, we're launching a bunch of stuff. So if you haven't registered for Build yet, please register for it. I'm dropping a link there in the chat so you can do it. And if you're interested in robotics, please go by and check out this project. What a fun way to contribute to an open source project and start contributing to something that you're into, right? Because I think like that's kind of the main thing, that you're actually start working on something that you're super passionate about. And that usually makes the learning and the sticking around a lot easier. So I'm going to drop you another quick short URL so that you remember it because the other one is kind of long. But please go register for Build. If you're not going to be there, it's happening in San Francisco, June 2nd and 3rd. If you're not going to be there, you can still join digitally and watch the keynotes and all the product announcements. And if you are there in person, there is a ton of events that are happening around Build, focus on open source. On the Wednesday, there is an OpenClaw meetup with the maintainers from the OpenClaw team. So if you've been tinkering with that robot digitally, then it's a fun opportunity for you to come and see how that team is absolutely literally cooking. So please go by the repository. Let me drop that link one more time. I'm going to also drop Prachi's contact because it's not every day that somebody literally says, contact me if you have questions and want to start with open source. That's for you. I just saw someone earlier post, I want to get more involved with open source. Well, Favor, you're in the right place. And don't forget, if you are an open source maintainer, an open source contributor, if you are a maybe interested in open source, or maybe you have seen a project out there that you're like, you know what, it would be really cool for this project to be featured in Open Source Friday, then please nominate it. Please open an issue. I'm going to once again share the repository for that. And the way that you do that is to just go to gh.io/OSF-win. And that's going to take you to a very simple issue template. It's fully automated. You just need to open an issue and then we take a look, we review it, just to make sure that it's a project that it's going to be interesting to our audience, and that is not you're coming here to try and sell, because that's not what Open Source Friday is for. This is for open source only. So please take a look, nominate your projects. We're actually booking August right now. And I'd love to have you here. I'd love to have you be a part of this. Here's that link to Build one more time. Listen, friends, it's like I get paid if people register. I think I do. But please register for Build right away. Everyone, have a good rest of your day. Take the rest of the day off. I think we all work too hard this week. Don't forget Microsoft Build next week. And if you're interested in open source policy, governance, and any of the things that are affecting how you're building and licensing your projects, please join the conversation that happened about an hour ago. It's right there in our YouTube channel. Also, another huge call out for you all. Please don't forget to like and subscribe that YouTube channel so that you get notifications when we have this type of events live. Next week in Open Source Friday, we have several open source projects that are going to be featured. Actually, it's going to be a busy week for us. We have on Friday, on the 27th, actually, that's what is it? 27 is a Wednesday. Uh, yeah, I believe that's Wednesday. On Wednesday, we're going to have actually someone from our open source team that's going to be giving us a very interesting, relevant, and timely guide on S-bombs and security for maintainers. I think it's been very top of mind for every single one of us. And then I want to say our Open Source Friday project, we haven't scheduled it yet, but I think it's definitely one on deck. Like we are fully booked for the next 2 months. So let me quickly take a look and see who it is so that we can start getting excited and hyped about it. And that is going to be on the 29th of May. That is going to be Data Load Tool, Elvis Cajoro. We can't wait to see you here. So if you're interested in DLT, and this is an open source software Python SDK for developer and for agents. Very interesting. Data pipelines, always relevant. So come join and learn about that project. I will see you all next week. Thank you for being here. Take care.